Welcome to the Varsity Voices and a special episode of From the Coach's Office. I'm Dan Fravoletti, and today, along with my co-host Joe Fravoletti, we welcome to the podcast Montini head football coach Mike Bukovsky. Montini established itself once again as one of the perennial football powers in the state of Illinois by going 12-2 last year and winning the Class 3A state championship. Coach Bukovsky is entering his 9th season as head football coach and looks to have another team worthy of making a run at a state title. As a special treat, we have 3 players from that team on the podcast, and obviously the members of this year's team. We want to welcome Izzy Abrams, Angelo DeSensi, and our first Dog of the Week winner from last year, Isaac Alexander. Coach Bukovsky and guys, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you hopping on.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for having us, guys.
If you are looking to buy or sell a home, contact RE/MAX Realtor and Circle of Legends recipient Christopher Cobb. Let Chris's extensive negotiating experience work to guide you on all of your real estate buying and selling needs. Contact Christopher now to discuss the right strategy for your personalized real estate buying and selling plan. His number is 630-420-0070, or you can visit his website at christophercobb.com. Guys, it's a easy question, the first one. And Isaac, I'm gonna go ahead and ask you this. So after last year's run and how well you guys did, obviously winning a state title, made it to the mountaintop, what do you do in the off season and during summer practice, which is going on now, to keep the edge and to make sure that you guys are ready to defend that title or go for another title this year?
So right now it's all about team first. So we're working together, working out as team more than we did last year. Obviously, we lost a bunch of seniors, but now we just have to regroup and continue to push. We got to make the same run. It's the same expectation as it was last year. So we work together on the field, in the weight room, throughout practice, pushing each other on both sides of the ball.
So you did, as you just mentioned, Isaac, and the others here, you did lose a lot of seniors, some key guys from last year's team, some leaders, and that senior leadership or, leadership in general is really important, as I'm sure you guys are aware. So what do you guys do, the 3 of you and probably some others on your team as well, to kind of step up, fill that void, so to speak, and to move on into that leadership role?
For me, it's all about looking at our previous senior leaders from last year and years before, and really doing what they're doing, and really leading in the weight room, pushing people as hard as they can go, either spotting them or on the field, pushing them, teaching them. It all starts at the lower level, so freshman, sophomore, really pushing them to be the best they can be, so they can, when they do get to the varsity, they can be a major contributor.
In terms of all the teams I've been on in my career so far, I feel like the team last year was the team that I've been on that's had the best leadership. Guys like J.C. Hayes, Gaetano Carbonara, Luke Jezik, people like that. Core leaders for our team, people that were team people and weren't just about themselves. If Gaetano had a bad game, he wasn't going around pointing fingers. If J.C. missed the block, he wasn't going around pointing fingers. He was trying to fix the problem on the spot. And I feel like that's what the team needs to piggyback off of and do this year. Maybe follow the footsteps of a guy like Luke, J.C. or Gaetano.
I would agree with them. I would say that we definitely need more leadership, and for us, we just need to create our own identity. I know we're adding to their footsteps, but this junior year is going to help the juniors that are now seniors. We have to step into that leadership role and create our identity as a group and just push each other as a whole so we're stronger together.
Even though we missed 28 seniors from last year, the good news is these guys and a few other guys that are going to be seniors this year, they had huge roles on our team last year. They stepped into a lot of pressure, dealt with a lot of situations. So, leadership in a large way has to do with results. And these guys were responsible last year for the origins of a lot of our success. So they're not new to stepping into these situations and leading by example. So I feel really as a coach, it's going to continue right where it left off last year.
That's great. And, it's so important to have that leadership. Regarding the summer and the workouts that you guys just referenced in practice, do you find it difficult? There seems to be, so much, competition, for lack of a better word, of things for you guys to do in the summer. There's a lot of people playing different sports and doing other things. How hard do you find it is to manage activities during the summer? And do you guys ever feel worn out, during the summer?
Are you talking about like in terms of like ourselves, us playing other sports, or the team playing other sports?
Yeah, if you guys play other sports, or if you find that you have teammates that might feel like, boy, this is a lot of work.
All right. I'm actually a three-sport athlete. I play basketball and baseball as well. So doing everything in the summer could be the wear and tear could be a lot, and you definitely feel it. You definitely feel tired after practice, but it's just about buying in. Especially football, hard practice. We're getting shoulder pads now. We're hitting a lot more, especially as offensive defensive linemen. So a lot of wear and tear. But if you want to be the best, you got to train like the best, and that's what I think our team's doing right now.
Me personally, I dropped basketball. I was a three-sport athlete freshman year, but I dropped basketball my sophomore year. I'm picking it back up again this year. And
Oh, good for you.
But for me, personally, right now, I'm just kind of focusing on football, and just trying to keep the team, leveled, and like all of us trying to stay focused on the one goal, which is to just keep pushing and fighting forward. Um, but in terms of the team, there are multiple people that like play different types of sports. You know what I mean? We have people like Johnny Luis, which is probably Division I for baseball and maybe football. Even a person like that. So it's kind of tough for him to maybe decipher between baseball and football, having a guy like that. So, but he does a good job with keeping up with his what he has to do. For both.
Yeah, to offer them, I would just say for me, I only play football, but I also do the wear and tear comes in as I train right after for 2 hours in the heat. So that's one of the problems. But I would say it's not an issue because even though football, it's only 10% physical, it's most 90% mental. So I would say that's the strongest part. We have to stay strong and then continue keep grinding as a group all together.
So, as I'm sure you guys know, your head coach, Coach Bukovsky, has a lot of experience, right? He's been around a while. He's seen a lot, done a lot of really great things. What's one lesson or piece of advice from him that kind of stands out to you guys the most?
I would say that what stands out to me the most is that team first is probably the strongest message that he pushes. He definitely tells us that you have to put the team above yourself, especially this year, as even though we lost 28 seniors, there's going to be a lot of players playing both sides of the ball. So we have to put yourself, you can't just say you're one side of the ball and not learn both, because then they're not helping the team. You're just looking out for yourself. So everyone's going to have to learn both sides of the ball. And team first is the strongest message that Coach School continues to push out.
Awesome.
Guys, you have I have a kind of a big picture question here. That one of the things that we've talked about a lot is how things have changed in not only high school football but high school sports, in the social interactions overall. And if you guys are, I know you're probably thinking about playing college football. There's been recruiting stuff out there. What do you do to manage your social media? And are you aware of, like, every post you make is going to be seen by potential coaches or people or recruiters? How do you go ahead and think about that, and kind of adjust your behaviors or what you post based on the current climate out there?
Yeah, I would say marketing yourself on social media has definitely become one of the biggest parts of playing any college sport. So really just being active on, say, X, Twitter every single day, really posting yourself, posting your workouts, your highlights, stuff of that nature. And, really being smart with what you post, especially in today's world. And if you go to a workout, take a video, post that. DM coaches, try to get your name out there as best as you can.
Anyone else have any thoughts on that?
For me, I'm very active on TikTok. I like posting on TikTok. I like doing different types of videos and stuff. But I also like understand there's a business side of it. So I understand that like everything I post or do on TikTok will be seen by college coaches. But I also think it could be a tool in terms of like they get to see like who you are as a person, the things that you stand for. So that's why I kind of do that. So like if a recruiter goes to my TikTok, they're not gonna find anything like outrageous. They're not gonna find guns. They wouldn't find anything crazy, you know what I mean? They just find like my true self, which is like me, my goofy self. But in terms of like what he said, like a marketing standpoint, like I also understand like maybe apps like X or like Instagram is kind of meant for like more the business side of things. So I kind of keep it like classy on Instagram and X, and like to keep it more like maybe social and interactive on Twitter. On TikTok.
Yeah, to offer them, I would just say it's mostly a balance for social media. Obviously, there's a marketing aspect, but there's also where you got to be yourself. And college coaches want to see who you are. But I would say be smart with what you post because you don't want to post the wrong things and they go and find something from like years ago. You just got to be smart about what you post, but also market yourself the right way so everyone sees who you truly are and show like your true colors.
You guys are very unique, these three guys, because they kind of represent, all spectrums on the rainbow in terms of personality and who they are and what they do. Obviously, that's a great pleasure of mine is when you coach young men, young people. Izzy mentioned Izzy is very accessible. He's out there. He's always got a smile on his face. He's very outgoing, does this, does that. Isaac and Angela are a little bit more stoic and kind of within themselves and all that. But I think that's what makes a team unique. That's what makes our team go is that everybody respects everybody. And Izzy's out there all the time. He's got his face there and this and that's great. And it's respectful. He never diminishes anybody on the team. Doesn't cause any problems on our team. So it's all good. Just like these guys, when they post their things and they're kind of a little bit less over the top and stuff, and that's fine. That's their personality. But I think that's a big lesson that I was fortunate to kind of learn coming up through the ranks, especially through Montini. And that's one of the things I try to impart on these guys. They do a super job with it. We don't have any issues with that, knock on wood.
So I just have one more question for you guys. So first of all, congratulations on an outstanding season last year, state championship. Well done. We followed you guys really closely, and we came out to a couple of your games, really enjoyed the whole atmosphere as well as watching you guys play on the field. My question is, how do you follow up on that this year? What are your goals? What are your objectives? And is it we're looking at it and we want to be as good as we were last year, if not better, and we want to repeat as state champs? Or is it something more kind of general than that? But what are you looking at as far as to follow up from last year to this year?
So last year, I think we had a great year, and obviously we won state. But I think there's some games, especially in the regular season, where I thought we should have. We went 7-2, and I think our 2 losses should have been wins. We lost to Fenwick, and we lost to Marist, and I believe those 2 games we did not play up to our level. And I believe when we play up to our level this year, it will be a lot closer. If not, we will get the win. So I feel like we will have a lot better season because of our off-season work and how we're a brotherhood and how we work so hard this offseason.
I'm not gonna sit here and try to say we have to do all of these extraordinary things to get back to where we were last year. But I think obviously there has to be some work put in. But my football coach this year for my 7-on-7 thing said you can make things easy. Things are as easy or as hard as you make them. So if you overcomplicate this, it's high school football. We're not NFL. They're not bringing 3 and then dropping one in, like a defensive lineman to the flat. That's not what this is. It's easy as hard as you make it. So I feel like if you do the same thing, put the same amount of work we did in as last year, and lead the same and lead by example is the same, and bring all of our teammates up to the same level and keep everybody level headed, I think we'll be at the same place as we were last year.
Yeah, to add off of them, I would say our goals are probably the same as last year, get back to the state championship, but also to stay level-headed because we can't grow complacent even though we won last year. And also, I would say a big difference is to win conference this year because we couldn't do that last year. Even though we won state, we ended up losing conference. So hopefully we could win this year. That's one of our goals. And then just to keep our hungry mindset so we're able to get back to the state championship.
So Isaac, I've got a goal for you that I want to give you for this coming year. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So last year you were our first ever dog of the week for week 1. So my goal or objective for you is for you to repeat in week 1 as our dog of the week. What do you think? Can we put that on your list?
Yeah, we can.
Oh, yeah.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you, this is one of the nice features of our team this year. Isaac's going to have a little bit of a different approach to the dog of the week. He's going to be counted on much heavier this year on the offensive side of the ball as well.
Very
as
good.
the defensive side. So he's going to have. I don't know. Maybe we have maybe he's double dog of the week.
Double dog. Yeah, creating new awards. Zuko's ready to go. He's rare. He's chomping at the bit, Isaac.
He had some injuries early in the year last year, and kind of we went a different direction with our running back situation with Jeremiah, and Isaac was, all banged up through the middle of the season. And I know he is, really, really worked hard in the offseason, got himself in great shape, and he's ready to attack this year on both sides of the ball. So I'd love to have that goal too. That means we did pretty well in the first game. So I'm okay with that goal for Isaac.
Excellent. Well, guys, we really appreciate your time. We'll move on to Coach Bukovsky here. I know you guys just got off the practice field and they're probably raring to go. We're probably standing between you and dinner. So thanks for hopping on, guys. We really appreciate it. And good luck this season.
Good luck, guys. Thank you. Yeah.
So, thanks, man.
Coach, we appreciate it.
Sure, no problem. I just think it was nice to those guys, and they've been, awesome so far this year. And I think, that was the big question anybody with common sense would say is, how do you replace 28 seniors? But we've got a really good start with those guys and the other young men that we're going to count on this year. So I still feel leadership is going to be a very, very strong aspect of who we are this year.
How is your summer going so far, Coach? I know you didn't get much time off to enjoy the state championship last year. You had a lot of other stuff to do, but Did you get a little time, and now you're kind of working yourself back into it over the summer, right?
Yeah, this summer's been, it's been crazy. It always is. I think that one of the things, you're always looking to learn and grow as a coach. I don't care what it is. And I'm 60 years old and back to coaching 3 sports again, which was never my plan to begin with. But things happen, and opportunities, you have to be thrust into sometimes. And so it was a difficult spring for me. I wasn't able to necessarily get myself in a position to be able to fluidly, start the summer and do some things. But I was very fortunate. We made some changes in our coaching staff this year, and I have been just blessed to have some men that are just doing a super job. The workouts that the boys are referring to, we've done something a little different this year. We've gone to a very specialized strength and conditioning coach, which, to be quite honest with you, we have never been able to do here, throughout the history of Montini. We've Coach Andriano and myself, who worked together for years and years, we always just tried to patch things together, and we've had different people come in. Mark Holstein was a guy that was with us through a lot of our big run, and when he left, we've never really been able to replace him. But I feel good about this summer. We've had just absolute phenomenal attendance and attitude and work in our team workouts, as well as our regularly scheduled team practices. So I'm really pleasantly surprised and excited about where we're at right now.
Coach, one of the things that we experienced at Varsity Voices last year that was kind of it was a surprise, but a very pleasant one, was just the next level sense of community that was in your program during last season's run, and just how involved they were, not only with the team, the players. They made a point of getting involved in Varsity Voices. They were great at responding, asking questions, really getting involved. How important is that connection between community and the football program?
Well, I think it's one of the unique aspects of Montini. It's one of the things I'm the most proud of. And, you guys go back to, I remember last year we talked about the old rivalry, the Bennett and Montini rivalry, which
Right.
nobody really understands unless you were back in the old WSCC,
Right.
as you guys mentioned. And, it goes back to those days. And you guys had the same thing over there. I learned, when I was a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed freshman in the fall of 1979, that, my coach, Chris Andriano, looked all of us in the eye and said, guys, you will never, ever be able to give back to football all that football is going to give you. And that's been one of my biggest mantras that I've lived by all these years with our boys. Today is a great example. Letting them know, hey guys, I need you to help us out. We want to have some representation, and boom, they come in here and they do that because I think they have that understanding. I think that that's one of the things we do really well. They understand that it's an important aspect of who we are, what we do. You guys mentioned a couple minutes ago, our game atmosphere here. We love it. We've got, I mean, my gosh, we got live horses and fireworks and cannons and flyovers and gosh knows what else going on. And Montini football games are fun. And, we kind of went through a little bit of a lull. Every school does, every team does, it happens. But, that's part of the whole thing. And you only get that when you have total buy-in and support from your families, and from your parents, and from all the things that we have here at Montini, our administration. So I'm very blessed. I feel great that we're, kind of in this resurgence here. I tell people all the time, we struggled coming out of COVID. We kind of got knocked out of the box pretty hard and had a couple of down years. But these young men, especially those seniors last year, I feel like we're back where we belong, and we're really excited.
So I want to congratulate you as well, Coach. I don't know if I did that on outstanding season last year, state championship, all those things that went really well for you and your program. And really that kind of comes back to you, comes back to your players, comes back to your community. Obviously, all of those things kind of work into it. So considering that, what does it take to kind of maintain that level of play from year to year and hopefully avoid any kind of down years going forward?
Well, that's the key, and you guys know that it's especially difficult in this conference. This conference is just unbelievable. There's no other word. It's a gauntlet, and it doesn't matter who you play. It doesn't matter if they're the ranked number 1 team out of the 2014 conference or ranked 24. You're going to have a battle, and I think that's the mindset that you have to learn. And it's interesting because there's new teams that sometimes come in and out of the conference. And, the boys said it right. I mean, we were not conference champions last year, but we were state champions. And, that's one of the things, that's one of our goals this year. But you think about that statement and, that doesn't happen all the time. Usually when your conference is winnable and it's just an unbelievable challenge. And I think that's something you have to check yourself all the time in everything you do. One of the reasons why I pursued this full-time strength and conditioning coach and really took that jump this year is because we need it. We got to keep up. And we need to try to close every gap and every door that we can. And, those are the things that I know every other coach that I'm going to coach against this fall is going to be doing the same type of thing. So it keeps you on your toes, that's for sure.
Coach, I know we've moved on to 2025. I just have one more question about 2024. You've coached in some great games. And this game, I'm asking about it because I was there. I got to witness it. But state championships are hard to contend with. But where does that Byron game from last year's second round of the playoffs rank as far as just a football game overall?
First of all, it was a great game. And gosh, we got so much respect for those guys from Byron. And, we really look at it as a 2-year thing because there was another great football game, 2 years ago when we lost to them in the semifinals. And, they just lay it on the line. And their kids, we have nothing but respect for their kids and their coaches. But you're right. That was an absolute battle. It was a great football game, had everything in it, even though it was a low-scoring game. There still was offense. There still was big plays. Of course, there was great defense. The atmosphere was electric, in our stadium that day. And, our boys had pointed to that game for a long, long time. And it's just that's what I love about football. We make a couple plays there, literally it's a game of inches. Their running back was stopped literally 3 to 4 inches in front of the goal line. I watch that film every once in a while, and sometimes I don't like seeing it because I think it's all of a sudden he's going to stretch out and get across the goal line in that 2-pointer there. But it was a great game, and so to us, hats off to them, and that was what high school football is all about. And they got us the year before, and we got them back, and that's one of the things that I will always cherish that game, and especially because of what it meant to our seniors. So many of those seniors last year, Montini was a little down, and they were, talked to heavily by other high school coaches to go play at their school. And why do you want to go to Montini? And they're this and they're that, and they're not doing this. And, and we just had to take that, and they made their own path. And that's why it was such a special game.
So there's a lot of what I call outside noise around high school sports these days, Coach, whether it's NIL, whether it's right to play, whether it's other legislation out there regarding certain things. Is that something that you talk to your players about, or is it something that you just try and avoid and kind of drown out at this point?
Well, as coaches, and as educators, I think it's part of our responsibility to bring those things up and talk about them, because that's how young men, young women, young people, I should say, learn, what they're supposed to do. Izzy's a great example. Let me tell you something. I'll be the first one to sit here and tell you, if I ever thought my career here playing at Montini or coaching at Montini that I'm going to be in conversations with college coaches about how many hundreds of thousands of dollars one of my players is going to possibly receive if he signs with them, I'd have called you all crazy. And that's the reality of what we deal with today. And, Izzy is, I mentioned that before, his personality is infectious. He's a great young man, but, I would never have had the confidence when I was that age to be as out there as he is and do those kind of things. And that's a tribute to who he is. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong, but the other two guys that I mentioned, Angelo and Isaac, much more reserved, and that's okay too. But I think that's our responsibility as educators, is to teach these people while still having what I call old school or old core values, and I think that's the balance that we all strive for. And I think you guys know some of the names I'm thinking of. Some of the coaches in our league do that very, very well and have done it very, very well for many, many years.
Mm-hmm. Coach, I've completely lost touch with the recruiting cycle as far as what can happen when is there a point where it's like, man, this is not necessarily how Izzy handles it. It sounds like he handles it well, but as far as just the demands on his time being such a high profile recruit, does it become a distraction to you at all in trying to plan and manage this?
It certainly was. And that's where, again, I had to learn something from that process. You right off the bat, you think, hey, I'm going to do everything in my power as a coach to get this kid in front of everybody and to get this kid an opportunity to do it. So, we're setting up, Izzy has had a certain period, lunch period this year. So we're setting up throwing sessions, in the winter where schools will come in and watch him throw during lunch and things like that. We're trying to, do everything we can in our power to get him opportunities. And I feel that's my job as a coach. I don't know. I lost track. I think it was about 185 coaches that came through here, not just for him, but for, Angelo and Isaac are awesome players in their own right. And both of them have Ivy League offers right now, and among some other offers. And so that's our responsibility as coaches. I'm proud to say that last year, we had 13 boys graduate from Montini football players, and they're going on to play college football. Guess what? Not one of them is a D1 player. They're D2, D3 players because they love the game. And that's my job. It's as important for me to get them situated at the schools they're going to than it is to get Izzy wherever he's going to decide to go to school someday. But it was a daunting task. And I had to check in with him all the time. Hey, how are we doing? What's going on? Blah, 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 and keep track of him, keep the grades up, this, that. He traveled, him and his family are travelers. They've been on a lot of visits, official and unofficial visits. They've gone down, they're doing their homework, and boy, that's a tedious situation, tedious job. So it is, I remember when you were recruited out of Bennett. I remember hearing about that. You were a guy, a lot of the schools you were being recruited of, we didn't have athletes, being recruited at some of those schools either. And so there's always steps to it, and you got to step up to doing that. But I think it's a big, big part of who we need to be as football coaches.
So I'm sure, Coach, last year you knew at some point, maybe when we interviewed last year, it was kind of before the season started, I'm sure you knew you were going to have a good team. You had all the pieces in place, but at what point during the season or during a game did you Did you look at your team and say, you know what? I think we've got what it takes to go all the way this year. Were there any kind of points that you can look at and say that about?
Well, I mean, I can't remember the date of the state championship game. I think that was November 30th, I believe. So the next day is when I said I think we have the potential to win the state.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, anybody who knows me knows there's a lot of truth to that statement. But
Yeah.
I knew we were going to be a special team when I saw the last offseason with those seniors. I knew that it was a different vibe, that quote unquote some of the old school way here at Montini or the way that things have been in some of our better years were back, and I was really excited about that. And they worked hard. We had last year, I think we had 9 3-year starters returning last year. So that was, you obviously you can't help but have some success. And then the pieces started falling in place. And then, like everything else, we were 2-2 at one point in the season. We won our first game, and was a game we should have won by a decisive amount. We did. Our second game, we played a very good, nice 5A state playoff Hillcrest team. We struggled a little bit offensively in that game, had a great game defensively, but I wasn't sure where we were. We had tough games, losses down at Marist and over at Fenwick. And so we're sitting at 2-2 and thinking, hey, anything could happen, and that's the great thing about high school football. And, we got on a roll there and things started falling into place. And then, that's when everything really, when I realized that we've got so many weapons, so much on this team. And I feel kind of that way, this year too. I feel that our team speed is just outstanding. I think we've got some awesome playmakers on our team, and I feel that we could really have a great run in us again next year.
So, Coach, we know obviously Izzy, gets a lot of headlines and that, but who else, are we going to learn about this year following the team and learning about as the season goes on? What are some names out there that we should know?
Well, I think offensively, you guys know everything starts up front. You got to have the guys up front. So Angelo is a 3-year starter for us. He'll be at left tackle. He's 6'6" now, but 280. He has just had a great off season. Really improved his feet. Talked about being a 3-sport athlete. He played basketball for us, and really improved his footwork and ability, athleticism. So he's got several offers. He's going to be a big mainstay in that offensive line. We had a young man last year that was a sophomore that started for us at 5 positions on the offensive line. Started the game at center, guard, and tackle as a sophomore. He's back. Gavin Erickson, he was our heavyweight last year, took 5th in the state as a sophomore. He's 6'5", and goes about 270 right now. He's going to be have a monster year this year. Michael Lombardo is going to take over for us at center. He's 6'2", about 275, 280, just a very, very aggressive, hardcore, throwback type of guy. We're very excited about him up front. And, a couple other guys that are going to plug in. Devin Sheko has had a really good offseason for us. He played a lot for us in the offensive line last year, started a couple of games. He's about 6'2". He goes about 275. And, we still got some other guys that are rotating in, and too many to name. But those 4, I think, are going to be kind of the guys that I'm excited about, from the standpoint of being up front. Obviously, Izzy, having a whole year under his belt this year. We're looking forward to that. Isaac, as I've said, Isaac Alexander is really primed to have a great season for us offensively. And we've got a couple of new additions that are going to be coming along too. Some transfer students that have come in, and they're going to take some snaps back there too, which has really improved our team speed. Our receivers, I'm super excited about our receivers. CJ Harkins last year was just every game got better. In the state championship game, he exploded and had a big year for us. He's got several offers right now too. Nico Castaldo, who I think is the fastest kid on our team, flat out speed. He struggled with some injuries last year, but boy, he's had a great summer, great spring. He's ready to go. We've got 4 or 5 other good receivers that I think are just, looking to have great years. We feel really deep in that position. And, defensively, guys, we've lost basically almost every starter defensively. But Amari Anderson played a lot for us on the defensive line. He's going to get snaps there. He started a couple games actually last year. Will really improve. We're hoping to see big things out of another defensive lineman, Kenny Hines. Kenny's had a great offseason and is improving and grown. He's a pretty imposing figure himself. He's about 6'3.5", 6'4" almost right now. And he's about 245 pounds, just chiseled. He's gonna really be a surprise this year. Our linebacking crew, we had some good experience from last year. Santino Tenuta, who had a great wrestling season for us. Tough kid, finished second in the state last year at 165 pounds. He's always in there scrapping and one of the most aggressive guys on our team. Big Ben Evenson will be a junior for us. He was on the varsity last year as a sophomore all year long, putting in his time. He's about a 6'2", 245-pound guy. He's really worked on his movement and skills in the offseason too. He's going to have a big year for us. And then, there's going to be Isaac. For my pound for pound, I think Isaac Alexander could be one of the best safeties in the state of Illinois. He's going to have another big year for us back there. So many big plays, 2 years now, starting as a sophomore or junior. And we've got some excellent candidates at corner. And, Laddie Ace is a guy I want to mention too. He started for us as a sophomore two years ago and started on our defense. And last year tore his ACL game 1. He's back. He's 100%. He's going to make a lot of plays this year. So Laddie's another guy that we go. And, I could go on with names, and I guess that's a good thing. But I really feel that we've got a lot of the pieces in place to have a great run again, like I said.
So I've got one more question for you, Coach. And last year when we had our interview with you, the question I asked you was, if we're talking next year at the same time we're doing an interview and we're talking about Montini football, what do you hope we're talking about? And I asked other coaches this too that we interviewed. I'd like to play you your answer from last year. It's about a minute and a half, all right? And then we'll go from there. All right, here we go. Last question. A year from now, we're sitting down again for another interview. What do you hope we're talking about as far as Montini is concerned and Montini football?
Well, I think the number one thing is the continuation, of our program, to keep growing and reaching. I say this, and it's the truth. We really struggled coming out of COVID, our program. And it was a combination of a few things. We had lost some coaches, some things were going on here and there. Talent level, this and that. So when we got out of COVID, we really struggled for a couple years. And then, in this business, when you're competitive, like in the Catholic League, it's unforgiving. We tell our guys, no one's feeling sorry for Montini. If you're going to hang your head and act like somebody's going to, give you a break or whatever, you're out of your mind. And so I am very proud of the fact that we were able to turn this thing around and get back on an ascending path. Last year we lost a tough game in the semifinal. We had the lead till about 3 minutes left, and Byron was a very, very good team, had some excellent players, and the next week they go in the state championship game and they win 69-7. So I don't know if that makes me feel worse or better. Teetering on the edge of the cliff in the middle of December, about ready to jump. I don't know what kept me from jumping, whether they were that good or we just blew our chance. But it just shows what we've been through, and I'm so happy and proud of these young men because, as we mentioned earlier in this show, in this day and age, it's so easy to quit and pull up the anchor and move and transfer and leave and do all those things. And I'm not saying that anyone who does that is wrong. I'm not judging anybody, but it's just a little bit of a different scenario than when we grew up. So that's what I hope we're talking about. If that means being in the state championship game, great. If that means winning the state championship, great. But these guys deserve how I feel, and every coach feels this way. But I know my seniors especially really deserve to have a great year this year, and so that's what I hope we're talking about in the year.
All right. So from my perspective, Coach, you check that box. Well, what do you think?
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
yeah, I think it was a great year, but but right now you're 0-0, and you got to
Right.
play the
Yeah,
team
what
you
have you
gotta
done for me
play, and
lately,
so
Coach?
your mind can go either way. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think we did accomplish that, and I felt that was. I will tell you, I got this question a lot last year, and a lot of people made a big deal about certain aspects of winning, and even some personal things to me about records and this and that and all that. But in all reality, the most, I guess, the feeling I felt the most after winning the state title last year was just a total gratifying feeling, and it was such a gratifying feeling for those kids because I really feel if you're any good at this coaching business, you've got to take it personally. You have to. And if you don't, I don't know. You can't feel, you don't have emotions. I'm not sure. But every coach, that I've known that have had success, you got to take this somewhat personal. And it was personal to me that those young men got a chance to stand on the top of the podium. And to me, it was really about one of the most gratifying experience in coaching that I've ever had. And so moving forward from that, for different reasons this year, I'd like those guys, our guys, to experience the same thing. So, we will see.
Yeah. So would that be, if I were to ask you that same question today, what do you hope we're talking about next year at this point regarding Montini football? What would your answer be? Would it be anything different or kind of the same?
No, just really the same. I just want our program to be recognized as a program that our kids played hard, and we got the most out of what we could, and those types of messages. Our kids, I'm so proud of the way our kids uphold themselves in the community. We talk so much about winning and losing, and you guys, I think, are probably very similar in the way I think. We were taught that. We were drilled that when we were young. That was as important as winning. Now, when you're playing the Montini Bennett annual showdown on a Saturday afternoon in Lisle or Lombard, then
Yeah.
maybe the most important emotion wasn't being a good boy and doing things the right way.
Right.
But that still all came back to that, and so that was always ingrained in my head. What good are you if you're winning and doing this and doing that if people don't think highly of your character? That has stuck with me forever. So guys like Jim Cavanaugh and my head coach, Chris Andriano, Rich Hudick, Mark Cunningham, John Regan, all those coaches that I've had, Bob Engelman, they taught me that, and I couldn't let go of that or forget about that if I wanted to. It's so ingrained in my head. And so that's what I want is Montini football to still be in the limelight. I tell our kids all the time, guys, you're lucky, you're relevant. The worst thing in the world to be is irrelevant. And whether I like it or not, on a Friday night, the people go on the internet. We used to say the speech and say on Saturday morning when everyone checks the newspaper, but they don't do that anymore. Now that everybody goes online and figures out when they check the score, whether anybody likes to say it or not, one of the scores people check is the Montini football score. And some people are rooting against us and hoping they see us lose, and that's okay too. But that's really what I've always preached is, bro, you want to be relevant. We want to be relevant and figure in and factor into what we're doing in the state of Illinois.
Well, Coach, we really appreciate your time. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. We really appreciate you bringing the players on too. That was great and very special for us. So we thank you. We wish you good luck this year, and we hope to see you out at the field sometime soon.
And guys, I want to thank you guys. I'm anyone that knows me knows I am technologically challenged, as my wife so aptly labels me as.
Right.
I can't imagine. And now that I see a little bit of this, and after you guys do so much for high school football in this area. I don't know if you even know how much the kids talk about it all the time. Today I'm talking to these guys this morning, and I said, "Well, we're going to do this podcast and this thing." The Varsity Voice. Oh, those guys. They just come up, and I love seeing that because that's, and not that you do it for those reasons, not that you do it for recognition. I know why you do it because you love it, but to me, that still makes me believe in kids, that they're impressed by that, and that they're, they want to do that, and it's a great thing. So thank you for all you do for high school football in the state and especially here in the western suburbs. I really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate it too, Coach. Thanks again, and thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
You
thank
bet.
you very much,
Thanks,
Coach.
guys.
Good,
Take
good
care.
luck
See you
to you.
soon.